I made it, y'all. I made it. Saturday. Coffee and chat. Fred Bruce. Glad to be here. Here we go, y'all. Um, got my coffee and still in this financial season. We looked at financial fitness last week. Financial fitness last week. Also talked about, of all things, right? We talked about this during on Wednesday, right? We go back to Wednesday. I talked about um, wealth gap on Wednesday, and so last week on the show we talked about financial fitness, right? Doing your check and seeing where you are. As far as doing a check-in, financial fitness. Like I said, tax season, the whole thing. That was last week. Checking the comments. That's what a bubble is. And in between that and this, I did, do a Bible study on Wednesday. We also did a piece on fintech, right? Financial technology companies, Ally, SoFi, companies like that, and how fintech is an equalizer in building a bridge, right? How fintechs act as an equalizer in building a bridge for this wealth gap, right? And the wealth gap is something we don't talk about because surprisingly we've been increasing in wealth, but we haven't been closing the gap as minorities, as Latinos, as African Americans. We've been increasing in our growth of wealth per se, but we have not increased in closing our gap between us and uh, our white fellow citizens. We say it that way. Make sense? You've gotten into home ownership, but the value of your home is only 2/3 of the value of the average white home. Yes, you've gotten into corporate America, but somehow your package is 3/4 of the value of one of your white middle management partners, right? Kind of how it works for women when they talk about like the tampon tax or the pink tax. Um, I go to work, I don't have to wear a bra. I don't have to wear pantyhose. I don't have to put on makeup, curl my hair the night before I come to work, put on eyelashes before I come to work. I don't have to do all those additional things that make me look like I'm prepared to go to work. A woman show up with no eyelashes, no makeup, no lipstick. They're gonna probably call her into the back room and say, "What's going on? Are you doing okay? Do you need a mental health day?" I show up, they say, "Nice suit, love the shoes," because I don't have to do all that. And so there's a difference between not only what's expected of us, but then there's a difference between how we're compensated in order to meet those expectations of what's expected of us and how to show up. And we don't put that in there as part of the package. That's not part of the compensation package. A woman doesn't get a pantyhose fund. She doesn't get a MAC makeup fund. That doesn't happen like that. And so, what we do need when we go on these jobs would be pretty much like the NFL and some sports leagues do. We need almost like a rookie class on financial literacy. And we need to take advantage of those things that are offered in financial literacy on the job, even if you get one or two things out of it. I met with someone free through my union, and we met for like 30, 45 minutes, gave me some work to do. But in all the stuff that he said and spoke on in our time together, two things resonated with me. One was something I had heard before, and I said, yeah, I need to fix that. And then two was something I had not heard before, and I said, yeah, I need to take advantage of that. And that's part of how we need to look at how we move and maneuver when we're dealing with people and what's offered to us in the realm of financial literacy and exposure to new things, in particular when it comes to finances and personal finance. And so let's look at this and see what I'm talking about here is building this bridge. When we build this bridge, you got to get in here and look at this, building this bridge. Here's what you got. You got banking, you got workplace, retirement plans, and individual retirement plans. You've got second income versus a small business, as well as investments. These are the things that you need in place in order to build your own bridge to overcome the wealth gap. And I'm sharing this so we can see it and get it clear. This is going to make a difference. And so, Pop, here we go. This is part of what I'm talking about, right? Banking. You need a foundational structure, financial structure, where you can receive funds, transfer funds, share funds, spread wealth, plant seeds, whatever. It's your core mechanism for money moving, right? It's all about money moving, saving, spending, spreading your money, right? Transferring it to brokerage and other accounts. You got to have this, some form of banking, right? Where's your check going, right? What's happening with your paycheck? Where's that going? Who's holding that? How are you cashing checks that you receive? What do you do when you receive other funds? How you doing your offering and your tithes? Where's that money coming from? What account is that money coming from? Set it up like that. Don't just get caught at church and just drop cash. Use a check or whatever system to track it. A lot of churches do. A lot of churches do special payment since we experienced the pandemic. They couldn't figure out how to help everybody who was in need of help, but they sure figured out how to set up a Cash App and Venmo accounts and Patreon. Come on. We gotta do better. Come on. So in that, what I'm saying is you need this core banking account to serve as a central mechanism for moving money. Then consider retirement, primarily workplace retirement. Also think about it in the sense of what you set up as an individual retirement account. And I'm going to flip back to that when I do small business. Long-term investing, right? Short-term borrowing. You can borrow from yourself and pay yourself back in a lot of accounts. and it's at a very almost secretive rate. It's almost like nothing you borrow for yourself. So that's short-term borrowing. Social Security is a security blanket versus Social Security. Social Security is the government trying to keep you supplied after you've served and done your work, and it doesn't match up with where inflation is going or the cost of living. And so Social Security may just be an added bonus for a lot of people as they get older. It may just be a special first Sunday dinner for some folks. That may be all it amounts to. It all depends on when you take it, how you take it, what your setup is. And so take that into account. The next thing you need to look at is if you're doing a workplace or individual retirement plan, max it out. Max it out. Max out your contributions as much as you can. If you can get an employer match, take advantage of that. Max it out as much as you can. And let the company sweat the rest. That's on them, not you. If you can get a second income going, not just a side hustle or a hobby, but something that you can turn in, turn over a decent return, if it's on a seasonal, annual, ongoing basis. There's a guy who does Christmas lights. Makes a killing. Another guy who, amazing how he sets it up. He sells Christmas trees, and then he has another side of his business where he hauls away the Christmas trees. In between that, he also has where not only will he sell you the tree, but then he builds you the stand, and he can even set up your tree in your house if you don't have the means of doing it. Christmas comes around one time a year, and he makes a killing as an additional business, setting them up, hauling them away. Not bad. Think about it. Summer. What do people need for the summer? What do people like for the summer? Right? I'm in San Diego. Imagine if I was renting out bikes, beach cruisers on the boardwalk. Imagine that. And it's just rolling. You can have some seasonal items that are available that make it cool for people to, shop with you, whatever. But what you want to get from that are the tax benefits. You don't get the tax benefits if you don't set it up as a business, sole proprietor, LLC, corporation, right? The tax benefits and the income itself. And then you also qualify as an established business for some time. You can start qualifying for some short-term borrowing if need be. I'm not recommending it, but if need be, in order to expand or grow that business. Makes sense. And so one of the tax benefits of setting it up as a small business is a self-employed IRA, which gives you additional retirement income on top of the IRA and the workplace retirement plan. So that's where you begin to create a bigger bridge, a bigger structure that gets you set up to take advantage of what's going on financially. Here's another element you need to look at. Your investments. Your investments should be set up for tax benefits. Your income should primarily come into your tax-free accounts so it doesn't get taxed so heavily. Your income that you're earning should be, quote unquote, not just ordinary income, but income that has tax benefits as well. If you are investing in a taxable account, some folks will recommend you go, tax-free investments that are paying, for instance, municipal bonds, government bonds, things of that nature that pay and give you not the same higher rate, but maybe a lower rate, but it's tax free. And so you don't get taxed on those funds that come in. I look at it as your investments outside of retirement are your safety net in case of a shortfall, in case interest rates go crazy, in case the housing market goes crazy, in case there's another .com, some other type fintech crypto crash that seeps into the larger market and causes the overall stock market to go crazy. You need something that might be steadily paying dividends for the last 50 years in your back pocket to continue paying those dividends. You might need something that has been heavily guarded, right, to act as assurance for you to keep going with your investments, with your long-term retirement plan, and not pull everything out and say, man, I need to get out of this and hold on to what I have. You gotta have a plan, and your plan has a pathway, but this is the structure to begin to look at for building the bridge, right? This is the structure for building the bridge that you gotta look at. And when you're building the bridge, right? You're building a bridge in order to overcome that gap. You're building a bridge to overcome that gap, and that gap is it's right there where it tends to give you a hard time in overcoming it, because a lot of this is not something that's on the surface. A lot of this is stuff that is well below the granular level. It's down there where you got to do some digging, some research, spend some time looking at it, finding out about it. Listen, and it may not, I'm going to say this to help somebody. You may not find out what you don't know from someone in your current circle. Let me say that another way. You may not find out what you don't know about investing, what you don't know about saving, what you don't know about personal finance from asking someone in your current circle of friends. You may have to go outside of the group you have been hanging out with and living paycheck to paycheck with and trying to figure out how to get out of debt with. You may need to look outside of that group to find somebody who's done it, who's living a different way, who's making things happen a different way, in order to learn more about what you don't know. Expand your circle, increase your exposure, get to know some folks who are doing things on a level that you may not be doing them at. And thank God if you have the opportunity to hear them, sit at their feet, and get to know a little bit about their experience. Like I said, I spent some time with an advisor, and the advisor, free through my union, right, based upon my position. Two things. Gave me a whole list of stuff, but two things resonated, and those have helped me push into a different realm when it comes into my retirement planning and the overall picture of how to shift and move into retirement a little earlier than I expected, but still with the same goal. That's how it works. So trust and believe. You can make this happen. You can make this happen. Go back to what go back to what I said the other week. Right? Go back to what I said the other week and think about it and think about how it fits into what we've been talking about. Right? Go back to what I said the other week when I talked about this whole thing of financial fitness. Go back to this whole thing about financial fitness and look at it and see where are you right now? What do you need to fix? How do you need to fix it? And how might that go for you right now? How much time you got? How much time you got to work on that? And if you got enough time to work on it and make it happen for you. Like I said before, you know, you need to look at this money mindset you got. You need to look at this money mindset you got. And if you don't change your money mindset, you're gonna run into some problems. You're gonna run into some problems if you don't change your money mindset. Change your money mindset, get going. Don't let racism, discrimination, none of these things bother you or block you. Change your mindset, make your money moves, let it be, and go forward. Hey, take advantage of the lessons you can learn. There's a lot out here on YouTube. There's a lot out here on TikTok. Listen to it, discern it, hear it, see what they're saying, see what they're talking about, see how to take advantage of it. Find out what works for you. And if it works for you, utilize it to your advantage and make the moves that get you getting ahead. God be with you. God bless.